Hello, everyone, and welcome to What's the Tea with Gen X, Y, and Z. We are three generations, three perspectives, but one cup of truth. So get ready for a refreshing take on hot button topics because we're going to be brewing up a steaming hot take on today's most pressing issues, where we're going to dish on everything from social justice to pop culture. With humor, honesty, and just a little healthy debate, we're going to sip the tea, spill the honest truth, and then find some common ground across the generational gap. This show is informative, it's insightful, and it's guaranteed to stir the pot. And so, everyone, let me introduce myself as the excellent, extra exhilarating X Factor, Dr. Melissa.
As you were going, I swear I was thinking, the song in my head with Jay-Z. Allow me to ring. Okay, I'm sorry.
My name is Ho. No, I'm sorry.
Oh boy, there we go.
Oh, sorry.
I started early.
I know, right? And hey, y'all, I am Amber, holding it down for us millennials.
And I'm Zion, as always, keeping it real for Gen Z.
Amen. Amen.
Took you a hot second to get that out, though, a little bit.
Because I wanted to emphasize the Z, Gen Z and Zion.
So you were emphasizing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, pretty much.
With the G?
Just
the
like
G
how
is
you
not
were
silent?
extra.
So the G is not silent?
Just like how you were extra.
Oh, I'm extra.
And that X is not silent.
Sometimes.
Was that a little... that was a little shady.
She came for me first, though. Look, y'all refer back to our old episode, self-defense. Justifiable. It's justified.
Hey, listen.
I still wholeheartedly don't really agree with that.
We
But we're not going to get started on that.
I got her started there, right?
And I know she didn't agree. However, y'all, listen, I am super excited about this topic. First of all, those of you that are not in our Facebook group, I don't know what you're waiting for. Okay, go to the Facebook. It's What's the Tea with Gen X, Y, and Z, the Facebook group. We are in there, and we have been we've been cutting up in that Facebook group. Today's topic is coming from one of our loyalists in that group.
Yes.
Say hey to Vanessa. Hey,
Vanessa.
Shout out.
So listen, Vanessa suggested this topic, and as soon as I saw it, I was excited. I was like, oh my goodness. Vanessa wanted us to touch on how involved grandparents should be with their grandchildren. Like, especially from the perspective of whether we are overstepping.
Right.
And so, I got excited because y'all know, I'm sure the Y and Z have a perspective, but always. I promise you, as an Xer, I got time today.
I bet you do.
Oh, I got time today.
This topic hit a spot. She ready. She hot and fiery.
That's what it's looking like.
So let's talk about it. When we talk about the level of involvement that grandparents should have with their grandbabies, this has to be started and jumped off by Amber. It has to be, because I will tell you, I like Amber is like living this in the moment.
I am.
Right? So Amber, what's your perspective about the role that grandparents should have with their grandchildren?
Well, before I start, y'all, I'm just going to throw this out here and hopefully you guys keep me in line, because I could really go off on a tangent. So so when you see me ranting, be like, hey, Amber, bring it back in. But come on, pull it back in. It's all right. It's okay.
No, I might enable you.
I'm pretty sure you probably might. It's okay. Just don't let me go too far off.
I'll rub you back, because listen, you got to live to fight another day.
Yeah.
But I am living this currently with my mom, and I love her to death. Shout out to you, mommy. You the GOAT.
Shout out.
But especially with my first daughter, she's gotten a lot better now with my second daughter. But being a first time mom, she ain't let me be a first time mom at all. It was, you need to hold her head like this. You need to make sure you wash the bottle like this. You need to make sure you put the water in like this and make sure it's not too hot. You need to make sure you burp her this way. And I'm just like, hey, how am I going to learn if you always telling me what to do? Or even now with the, how they are now, and they're older, they're 5 and 2.
Right.
One of them can just fall on the ground, just have a little innocent scratch. I call them war scars. Why my baby falling? I'm like, Mama, she's on her bike. Like, what? How do you expect her to learn? Right. Am I supposed to actually be on the bike with her and actually pedal the wheels so she can get up and down the street? How's she gonna learn that way, right? She's just not. So it's been times where my mom forgot that I bared my children for 9 months apiece. She wasn't in the delivery room while my second daughter was taking her precious time coming out. And she definitely wasn't in the delivery room the first time when my first daughter just wanted to come out, fairly quickly. Yeah. She didn't endure the pain that I had to endure to let me know how to, raise my babies. Now, don't get me wrong. I am wholeheartedly grateful for the impact that my mother has, on my children's life and on my life. But these are different times, okay?
Yes.
The children are different.
2025.
The teachers are different.
Yes, they are.
Okay, so how I was raised in the 90s, okay, in
Don't
the early
get
2000s.
By rulers no more. Come on now.
Don't nobody tell you to go outside and get a switch off the tree no more.
That's right.
Or find the closest thing to hit you with,
we call it popo. Don't do it.
Or don't tell you to go get that extension cord. Why you about to hit me with the extension cord? Listen, I send my kids to school with an extension cord bruise. Guess what they gonna call? CPS. Okay? I told you I might go off a little bit.
So I'm gonna rub it back right now and
yes.
save her for myself. Yeah. Because I don't know if you guys could feel it through the airwaves.
Oh, I'm sure
because sitting right here is palatable.
It's a little bubbly.
There's a lot of energy.
It is.
There's a lot of energy. So yes, so clearly Amber has a perspective on this. Amen.
I'm going
to relegate the wisdom at the table for last, because at the end of the day, when you finish hearing the ranting and then you need to hear something sage and something grounding and something that's going to actually be logical and make sense. And that's what I'm here to do.
Hold on, wait a minute. That made sense.
It did.
That made a lot of sense.
A lot of emotion. But anyway, no. And honestly, everything you said, I can remember a time of saying it. So let me just be all the way honest. So your perspective is valid.
I appreciate that.
Yes. Zion, what's your perspective on this whole role of grandparents?
Yeah, so in my experience with my two boys, I've realized sometimes it can be important to establish boundaries.
Oh, we're going to let them keep going?
Where you have your own parenting style, but sometimes your parenting style doesn't synchronize with your parent.
Who raised you?
And
Zion
I think
lying.
sometimes it's just important to distinguish.
I'm
done. No, I don't have no kids, not yet. So I'm not going to be providing a lot of insight this episode, but I'm just going to go off if I was a parent.
Absolutely.
And how I would.
Because you are about to get married in about 6 weeks, right? So you are entering
what they say.
That phase of life.
Yeah, first comes love, then comes the marriage, then comes the baby and the baby.
Right. So even when you think about it as a non-parent at this point, what is your vision of it?
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, ideally, kind of what I was saying, like, you have your own way that you want to do parenting that may not 100% resemble the way that you were that you were parenting, but I think at the same time you want to seek advice and seek advice for sure, but like kind of how Amber suggested, like you wanted to get a feel for your own kid, because I feel like every kid is different and unique in their own way, and they're not responsive to, there's not just one objective way to do things. I don't think every kid is going to be very responsive to that. So just kind of getting the feel for them, try a little different things out.
That part.
It's like 2018 Braun, left shoulder fades. He ain't a left shoulder guy, but
you just
not clear. Not clear where that went.
Yeah, I was there, and then he lost me.
I just want to try different things and see, kind of see what my style is, because I'm not sure what my parenting style is right now in this moment. So
okay, we tracking with you now. First when you went off,
I'm going to put my glasses.
Some of them gonna get it. My ears gonna get it.
Let me put my glasses on for this, because when I
come on.
Ooh, talk to him.
Yeah.
So you see KRS?
Ooh.
Can you see him with the glasses?
Ooh. Shade.
Shout out KRS1. Yeah, shout out.
Oh my gosh.
That's MC
And here's the thing about parenting. Sometimes you think you've gotten it right.
Uh-oh.
And then you find yourself sitting in my seat.
Yeah.
And you're wondering, like, where did this child come from? And you think about the 9 months you carried him, growing inside, no charge.
Bumpy ride.
For the nights I stayed up with you.
Bumpy ride.
I'm sorry, I'm doing a Shirley Caesar song. Anyway, y'all, so here's my perspective about that. And all valid perspectives. The reason why I think this is such a timely topic is because here I am, I'm the Xer at the table. So I think I have a perspective that's unique in the fact that I have been the mom who had the mother who basically said I didn't know what I was doing and questioned every single thing that I did, right? Shout out to mommy. Love you. And now I'm a Mima, right? So I have both perspectives. Here's what I will say. When it comes down to the role of grandparents when I was a parent, I was, one of the things about us in the X generation, we were really trying to be modern people, modern parents. So there was a expert, Dr. Spock, right? And he had all these books about child rearing and all that parenting. And so you wanted to do it different than your parents. At least I did, right? Because it felt very rigid and it felt, children were seen and not heard. Yeah. And so you were trying to learn these different perspectives. And so I can remember when I was a young parent, I can remember my mom saying, if you don't stop reading that book, that man don't know what he's talking about. And, and I will tell you some of the things that my mom was saying, some was good, but some of it, like she wanted me to put an egg in a knee-high pantyhose and hang it over the crib to cut the baby's teeth in.
Wait.
What? Just don't. Because what you're not going to do is talk about my mom.
Listen, we love it. We're just trying to understand it.
There's a method to everyone's madness. I'm just not understanding.
It was old. They were old wives' tales passed down. So the way to cut the teeth in, you did this. You shake the baby's head. And she would say, hey, you better shake the baby's head. So it was all of this stuff. Okay. And I was, as a young mother, I would say, well, no, that's not what the book says. I read. And she would say, girl, are you going to listen to the book or me? I'm thinking, the book. Because Dr. Spock is like. But so I remember, I can recall pushing back on those things.
Yeah.
Now, here's where it gets squirrely for those of you that are millennials and Zers. I would push back a little bit on some of the things my mom said, not to her face. Okay. I would just, when she leave, I'm like, I'm going to do it my way. Right. Yeah. But I also didn't expect her to do a lot of caretaking of my children. So I said, this is the way I want to raise my children. And I actually full-time raised them. Here's what I think is a problem when there's this thing about grandparents stay in their place. Well, that would be lovely if you weren't bringing them to our houses all the time. Amen.
Okay, so mic drop.
Yeah, mic drop. So it's kind of like grandparents, like, this is my child. Don't tell me what to do with my child. Oh, but by the way, can you keep my child? Yeah. Now, I will say that's not my case. I have one grandchild, and she's not even in the area. So I don't have that experience. But what I will tell you is that oftentimes when something goes wrong, mama, she's got a 100-degree temperature. What should I do? Like, it's like you want involvement when you want involvement. Mm-hmm. And then when the grandparent, oh my God, actually has an opinion about something, it's like, you need to stay in your place. And this is my child. Okay. So in all fairness, grandparents really don't, what is the role? Uh-huh. Because a lot of grandparents and a lot of my friends that are Xers, some of them are raising the grandchildren. That's not your situation, but some of them are having to raise their grandchildren.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or keep their grandchildren a lot.
Yeah. Quite often they're normal. There's a lot of grandparents out here raising their
who they're third and fourth quarter. They can't travel. They can't enjoy themselves because now they've raised their children and now they're raising the next generation.
Yeah. No, that is true. Which I think to a certain degree is very unfair because they've already, they've raised their children. They're grown and now it's, their children decided to have children. Now it's their turn to raise their children. Exactly. So I have seen that a lot.
And I would say to Zion's point, you want to you want to experience. It sounded like he was going to do an experiment with his children. I'm just going to be honest. It sounded like, and I'm going to say, H to the null. H to the null. We're not experimenting with those babies. Not on my watch.
You shouldn't have said that. Mima just stepped in right there.
Because here's the thing, and I get it. Like, I want to see how it's going to work. But y'all, listen. Isn't there something to be said? My husband calls it borrowed sense. Like, can't you borrow somebody's sense? If I've already gone through some things, if I already know that like 5 miles down the road there's a cliff, dude, why do you have to go over the cliff?
If I'm telling
you there's a cliff.
Right. Is that applicable in this situation though? Because that's more circumstances. We're talking about a living being who may be different than me.
Because sometimes it could change. Maybe they didn't build the bridge over the cliff by then, and you know what I'm saying? You can get to the other side.
I still don't know. Okay, touche.
I'm just saying.
I want to ask a question too. So, what is considered? What would you consider overstepping then for that dynamic between grandchildren, parents, and their child?
Okay, so I will say, y'all, because I'm gonna keep it fair.
Keep it a buck.
Like I'm gonna keep it a buck, a stack, a bullet.
No, don't keep it a bullet.
Amen.
Don't keep it a bullet. No.
I went.
She retracts that.
I retract. I don't know what I'm trying to talk hip. I don't know what they say.
But
I don't think
I'm gonna keep it. I'm gonna keep it real. So, in all fairness, I do feel like grandparents, pick your poison. If you want their involvement, then you can't say, help me, but shut up. It's like I say when somebody want to borrow my money. If you're asking for my money, then you get my opinion.
Yeah, sure.
If you don't want my opinion, cool, don't ask for my money.
Right.
But if you're coming asking me to borrow money and I'm asking you questions like, that's my business, well, that's my money. Right. Amen. Yeah. If you don't want to share, then amen, we can stop this conversation. Right. So I think in that sense, it's not fair. But here's where I'm going to say with us Xers, we can't overstep.
Yeah.
And the truth of the matter is, you may not do it the way I would have done it. Right. If the baby is okay, the baby's okay. Right. Maybe you put the left pamper side on before the right, and I did it opposite. Right. Sometimes I think we can, without knowing, make the mother or the parent or our other generations feel like they're inept. Like they don't know what they're doing because they didn't do it our way, which sabotages their confidence in being able to raise their own kids. Right. And I know we do it, and I've seen us do it where, we got an opinion about everything. Well, I wouldn't put that on them. And I wouldn't
come through for the self-awareness.
I'm going to come through.
Yes. I love the accountability. Yes.
Baby.
She coming through for the X generation.
This chick is accountable. I will say we go too far. Because we've done it before, and I think we're well-meaning. It's like we're trying to say, hey, I don't want you to get this wrong, and this is the best way to do it. But honestly, there's more than one way to get to any particular destination.
Yeah, that's true. That's why I said I when it comes to my mom, like I respect everything that she tells me, and that's why I said I'm wholeheartedly grateful. But times have changed.
Right. Exactly.
Pampers, how they were in the 90s, are not the same now. They got self-absorbed. They got a whole bunch of different brands. They used to only have Huggies and Pampers. Now they got the natural Pampers. And listen, times change. They have a whole bunch of different toys. Y'all used to have they got a actual bottle maker that has the formula and the water, and you just put the bottle underneath there and it do all the work for you.
Like a Keurig?
Yes. What? It's a dang, I forgot what it was, but I said when I had another.
Why didn't I think of that? Why didn't I create that?
Listen, it's so many different little gadgets for babies now. Like how y'all used to, wake up and have to actually make these bottles. Right. Like you can have it beside your bed and make it for you. You can be half asleep, feed the baby. I don't advise that, but I'm just saying. Like it's different. It's more helpful with the things they have now than back in the day when y'all used to literally have to do this, and this.
That's the point I'm trying to make, right? If our children, the Zers and the Wires, if our children's environment is evolving, shouldn't the parenting styles evolve as well? So sometimes maybe we can't rely on forgive my poor choice of words, but an antiquated style of parenting for maybe some kids.
Oh, that is bad. You done called them
mentioned I'm sorry. You mentioned toys, right?
You should have said maybe traditional old school.
I'm sorry. But you mentioned toys, right? And kids' reliance on toys for entertainment. Now kids are relying on devices though.
Yeah.
Like technology, like we're talking about different environments now, especially with social media.
Well,
I know I always bring up social media, but
I'm not really talking about the kids though. I was talking about the adults. But for
both parties though.
Yeah.
For both parties, it's an acclimation that needs to happen between the child and the adult. Because it's a whole new environment now, especially we talk about going through other people. I know I saw a TikTok not too long ago, man. Like they going to some of these daycares, man, and hip hop playing for these 5-year-olds, Sexy Red, and
they know all the words.
They know all the words.
The children these days are different. Okay,
and the song ain't censored.
Okay,
it has that E next to it.
Okay, so
explicit.
Here's what we're gonna do.
They know all the explicit words too.
Here's what we're gonna do from the antiquated chick. We're going to take a break.
That won't the best.
The
choice.
beautiful thing about it is
take it on chin.
Beautiful thing is they just made my case right before we went into the break. Perhaps the new parenting style is not working if we're listening to Sexy Red and we've got the explicit side. Perhaps there's something to be said for a return to just good, solid, antiquated parenting. But we'll talk about that when we come back from the break. See y'all in a bit. See y'all in a bit.
Catch the wave of success with Standing on Business with Dr. Melissa. Unlock your purpose, align it with your entrepreneurial spirit, and witness your business thrive. This isn't just about authenticity, it's about building a foundation so solid, your business becomes synonymous with profitability. Tune in as we delve into marketing strategies that work and create an empire that stands on business. Because when purpose meets strategy, success is inevitable. Standing on Business with Dr. Melissa, where authenticity meets profitability.
So, welcome back to What's the Tea with Gen X, Y, and Z. During the break, I went on and jacked Zion up, but I did it very quickly. Antiquated. Before the break, so we've been talking about the involvement of grandparents when it comes to grandchildren. Mm-hmm. And I think there's certainly a balance that needs to be struck, right? Between help and overstepping. Absolutely. And I think that was the exact word that Vanessa used, was the overstepping as far as a question. Yep. Now, and I can take it on the chin that sometimes as Xers, we are overly involved. We feel like our way is the right way to do it. And if you didn't do it our way, then God forbid, I can recall just like, the baby. And it's like, what did I do? When you're a mom, feedback, if it's not given in the right way, feels like criticism. Mm-hmm. And criticism makes you feel like you're not a good mom. Mm-hmm. And it's not necessarily something you've done wrong. It's just that we would do it. There's one way you're doing it. There's another way I would do it. So I think we have to be careful that we don't communicate that you don't know what you're doing and I can do it so much better.
Right. That is true, because then it's going to start a whole big argument, because then I'm going to run down all the stuff you did wrong with me.
Yeah, it's territorial.
It is. Well, I will tell you as a parent, there are few things that is as touchy.
Right, exactly.
As that. There's a lot of things you can criticize me about or call me. But when it gets down to about me being a mother, it's like everything feels extra sensitive.
That's innate.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's
but
a touchy topic.
I will say this, because like I said, I was being fair across the board. Yeah. I do feel like Xers and grandparents get taken advantage of.
Yeah,
get used when it's convenient, and then sit down and be quiet when it's not. But I also think that we can go too far and start trying to relive. And I'm going to tell you this, and I'm going to talk to my Xers. So y'all just lean in for a minute. I did a live video not too long ago. And what I was talking about was how sometimes our generation, we're so used to raising babies and our families that when they leave, we're terrified of what's next. Mm. God forbid that we should just live a life without having to take care of people. Mm. And what we do sometimes is, and it's not to the advantage of our children who's having babies, we push them out of the way so that we can continue to feel needed and significant. Yep. And because we don't know what else to do with ourselves. Yeah. We've raised our children. Not all of, there are some grandparents who are raising their grandbabies, and it's not that the parents can't. It's that the grandparents ran in and was like, I got it. Mm-hmm. Like, You sit down, you go do this so that I can
Overstepping.
continue to do that. So I will say that. But now before the break, Zion had mentioned him and Amber sort of went back and forth, and he was kiki and ka about how kids and Sexy Red and they know all the words to the hip hop song, and they were smiling when they were saying it.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here cringing because
not in a way of agreeing.
No, we're saying it how crazy
it is.
Well, then when we get back to this thing about kids are different these days and you need to raise them differently, I'm going to submit to you that kids are different these days because they're being raised differently.
I mean, that is true. We ain't got no no comeback for that because that is true.
The reason I presented that was because you being a grandparent, right, and you have a child. Because my thing is, okay, so I'm going to try to be as respectful as I can, right? You're a Gen Xer. And now for you, you're a very adept Gen Xer. I'll give you that. But most Gen Xers, no disrespect, y'all, are not very adept when it comes to digital literacy and just technology in general. Like, let's be fair, right?
We created the computers.
But y'all not keeping up with the times, though.
It's something that would. I'm telling you.
Larry Bird shot threes in the '80s, but he ain't shooting like Steph Curry now. Okay, so all right, let's get that off.
Why you keep?
He's just got to.
Why gotta be a basketball
all right,
analogy?
Anyway, y'all get it though, but you get it, right? Okay, so if you're a grandparent and that child that you're taking care of or you're watching has that iPad and you don't know what they watching, and they watching a Sexy Red music video, how do you handle that? Because you have you're not familiar with technology at all. As far as they're concerned, they're tricking you thinking they're on YouTube Kids.
If they hear it though, it's a wrap.
Are they hearing it?
Oh no! Here's the problem. Here's the problem.
Mm.
Let's work out your analogy.
Yeah, for sure.
They came to my house as the grandparents with an iPad. Who got them the iPad?
For sure. No, for sure.
And who showed
the apps?
Exactly.
Yes.
And how do they know about Sexy Red?
No. Parents don't always show them the apps. Though. They can
but how do they know about Sexy Red?
You know that stuff is password.
How do they know about Sexy Red?
Well, they have technology, and the technology can access the internet, and the internet, and
so they know to type in Sexy Red.
No, you don't have to type in Sexy Red.
I can't wholeheartedly agree with that because my children have iPads, and
you put restrictions on it.
Exactly.
Right.
So they're not permitted to the regular YouTube. They can only watch YouTube Kids and only during a certain time. And they can't just download anything. Okay. I have to download it on their iPad and type in a password. So, and there's certain apps up there that I know that they're utilizing. They can't even just search Safari.
Right. So let me present a scenario to you then, because I get you. Oh, you got me in the corner. Okay. So they go to school with other children, right? Mm-hmm. And are you sure that their parents have restrictions on their device?
They ain't at their house. They home.
Okay, right. But again, so because in some grade schools, especially early on, because I know instances of that as well, where children don't have restrictions, even though your child does, don't have restrictions on their device, and they're showing your kid different content.
Yeah, now that's true.
That's possible.
Now it's true, and it definitely could be possible. But you do have some facilities in some schools where children aren't able to even bring these iPads, iPhones, and tablets into the school to show them.
And if your facility doesn't?
No. Now, if they're outside...
I'm not saying you're specifically, but if you're a parent, you're not... Because, again, maybe you... If you're... Okay, say you don't have a private school, because most public schools, they're not monitoring every child.
And that's why I was just about to say,
and
now, in my category, yes, because they got cameras and everything. I can see what kids are doing, but that is
the case that's being made. The case that's being made is that we need some good old sage parenting from the X generation.
Not necessary,
because I remember growing up, like we couldn't, if we were watching something and bad words were being said, it was like close your ears or going out. This is grown folks, movie. So the point is, it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah,
I will agree that times have changed.
Absolutely.
And I started the show off by saying one of the things for Xers was that we wanted to do it differently than boomers. Like we did. We wanted to ask, how do you feel about this?
Yeah.
We wanted to get feedback from our children, right? But I think there's a limit. Now I will tell you, here's the other thing, throw this out there. What happens when, ask y'all how y'all feel about this. You have your child, you bring your child to your parents, the grandparents, with, a list of rules of what they can do and cannot do. And can you, and they don't honor them.
Right. That's exactly what I was about to get into.
Listen, that hit different because I've had that happen to me. Now, I didn't come with a list of demands. Now, sometimes that can be a little egregious. Don't get me wrong. But I'm trying to potty train my 2-year-old. So if I'm trying to potty train my 2-year-old, and I'm telling you, hey, mama, this is the schedule that I need you to put her on, because this is what she used to. The school has her on the schedule, and we have the schedule at home. So, hey, she only coming to your house for a couple of hours. Can you just make sure she's sitting on the pot every 30 minutes? If you can't have your granddaughter sit on the pot every 30 minutes, and you know we trying to potty train her, I'm going to feel some kind of way. Because she only there for a couple of hours, and I'm telling you, she already got the schedule down pat. Now you basically uprooting the routine of trying to potty train our kid, and you know she need to be potty trained for school. Like you messing up the
disrupting the pattern.
You messing up the flow and the pattern. And then if you got a stubborn child, I love my baby to death, but sometimes me and her don't see eye to eye. So now she like, well, Mimi letting me get away with this. Exactly. So now when she get home, me and her beefing because you done let her get away with murder. Beefing. I be beefing with my 2-year-old. Listen,
and losing.
I am losing. I'm detrimentally losing. Yes. It is a terrible battle. Like that's why I'm saying times have changed. Because if this was me and my mama, it would have been a whole different scenario. Yeah. So I had to explain this to her, and guess what? She still didn't see it through my lens. She only seen it through my daughter's lens, and I'm just like, Mama, you had me. I mean, I'm not saying I was peaches and cream. I know I probably put her through the ringer, but I'm like, you know what I'm going through. Help me out. Right. Now again, Alyssa demands, then you just need to keep your baby home.
Help me out.
Help me out here, because if you're gonna have her for these couple of hours, and then what grandparents also do is they say, hey, bring me my grandbaby. Yeah. So if you telling me to bring you your grandbaby, and I'm saying, hey, this is what we doing, I'm expecting you to stick with the routine. It ain't like it's outrageous and crazy. I ain't saying it got to be every 5 minutes, or you got to feed her at this time, and she got to. How was ridiculous?
No, I'm saying it's ridiculous, right? Yeah.
What I feel like after this session, I'm going to ask Amber to. I'm going to submit to Amber my invoice, because I feel like Amber's on the therapy chair.
Well, small violin.
I saw her on my peripheral.
I feel like Amber's going to need to pay us, y'all, right? Because Amber is on the couch right now. But here's the thing too. I will say for grandparents. It is, to be honest with you, it is a real thing that grandparents are like, I had to be hard on my children. But my grandkids, I let them run them up.
You let them do anything.
Well, yeah. Guess what? Yeah, because guess what? We did the hard thing of when we raised our children. We had to be the heavy.
I think it's a setup, low key. I think y'all just want us to get back what we gave to y'all. In a sense, I don't be liking that. Don't set me up for failure. Yes, Amber,
grandparents.
That's
we
true.
would
it is
never.
Purposeful.
That's true.
It's purposeful.
We would never do that. We would never juice them up and sugar them up and get them hyped up and buy toys that make a lot of noise and send them.
That's true, because because the thing is, y'all got to realize, wires and ears, y'all got to realize about y'all parents. They hold on to grudges you don't know about.
Yes.
Like I got my first apartment last year, and then I want to say a week before I even moved in, my parent sent me a video of what you said? How about you tell them what you said?
No, listen, y'all, and I'm gonna
the refrigerator.
I'm gonna drop the.
It was the cabinet.
I'm gonna drop the video in our
group. The refrigerator.
I just simply sent a video of this father who went to his child's first apartment, and what he did was he opened all the cabinet doors and left them open. He used the bathroom and didn't flush the toilet. He took the trash, let the trash overfill. He turned all the lights on. And I did send it to my son because it hit me when I saw it. I had lived that. Yeah. But now I will tell you, when I went over to his apartment, first of all, immaculate.
Clean. Ooh.
I'm talking about clean. If you know the times that I've had to repent for the words that I've had to say because I could not get the kitchen to be clean. I could not wake up in the morning to a clean sink. There was going to be dishes in there, or the trash that's sitting right there. That happened in my real life.
Well, I could say that might be just because it's boys. You know, they say boys is.
No, but in his house,
it was clean.
In his house, it was Listen, immaculate. And guess what he was doing? Hey, turn off those lights.
Trying to say that electricity
It
bill.
hit different when you got to pay for them.
I was about to
bills
say
now.
it hit different when
It hit a little
it's your
different.
parents paying for it versus when you
It hit a
paying
little
for it.
different when Dominion's contacting you.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm like,
They
hey,
your
now.
bills. They ain't your parents. You ain't like,
I'm
my
like,
mama
hey,
got it.
This $20 more than last month. What happened?
Somebody left
Someone
that
leaving their
back.
lights on. Hey now, you home for too long. You need
Or when you got a
need to
grocery
go
shop.
take a walk to the park or something now. Get you some sunlight, not Dominion light.
Or when you got to actually grocery shop.
No,
for
you
yourself.
didn't
Hey,
say the
now.
sunlight. My God.
Get you some sunlight.
So holding grudges, no. But I will say it ain't no fun when the rabbit got the gun. That's all I'm gonna say with that. When you're in those shoes, it's kind of like boom, boom. Here's what I'm gonna say as we this topic is juicy and thick and deep and funny, and because I think it's so multi-layered. But here's what I'm gonna say. Y'all know I'm big on legacy. That's creating a legacy, and I really do believe that for us grandparents, your position cannot be overstated. It is the passing down of wisdom, borrowed sense, the passing down of the family stories, the teaching your grandchildren about things that, from your perspective, like you taught your kids, but your kids don't have your perspective. And so it's so wonderful when I see a grandchild with their grandparent and to see the passing of the wisdom, right? Of the stories, of the lineage, all of that. So listen, grandparents, we are very, very valuable. But here's the thing, that's it's a double-edged sword for us as grandparents. They're not our babies.
Right.
So we have to respect.
You
have to respect the parents.
Right.
You have to respect their perspective, and you have to respect their right. It's their right to do it wrong. And most of the time, if they're not doing it your way, it is wrong. But it's their right to do it wrong. And you have to sort of grin and bear it, but have some boundaries. And what that means is, no. If I can't talk, I can't keep. If I can't share my perspective, when you want to go to the Kendrick Lamar concert, I'm not available. Amen.
It's highly specific.
Amen.
Hey, listen, y'all.
Dun, 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 dun.
And listen, I know I was going off on a tangent, but
oh yes, you were.
I know. But listen, my mom really does. She comes through for my babies, and so I don't want anyone to think that I'm not.
And I don't. It didn't come across that way at all.
I know she gonna watch this, and she gonna be in her feelings for the first couple of minutes. So I at least want her to get to the end. Exactly, where I'm giving her flowers because mama, listen. When I say you the GOAT, you are really the GOAT, okay? In caps, because them girls, they love you, and I know you love them, but sometimes, just sometimes, it can be a little, just a tad bit too much. But
I got one last thing from the Zier, man, before we depart. Now, the point I made earlier about the social media stuff like that, I wasn't doing that to not acknowledge the importance of grandparents also participating in raising your child. But it was just to make a point that things aren't as black and white as they may be used to be. So I think sometimes some grandparents underestimate the significance of raising a child in modern day society. So that's the point I wanted to make.
That's true.
And secondly, I think it's important, and mind you, I don't have children, so take what I say for grain of salt, please. I think it's important for the grandparent to acknowledge that parenting style, but at the same time, it's important for that parent to be receptive to any advice
that is true
that your grandparent or that your parent gives you. And it's up to you whether or not you're going to implement that. Right. But they, like you said, they need that. They need to be able to give advice to you.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? They need that for you and them. So just be receptive to it, even if you don't implement everything. So I believe that's important, and especially with borrowed sense. But I believe it's important to sometimes create sense as well.
Oh, I agree. I agree. And for us exes to realize that, to the analogy that was here, they may have built the bridge over the cliff, because the last time it was a cliff was 10 years ago, and that's the last time you went down there. And since that time, they have built the bridge, and you just don't know it. Like, oh my God, they built the bridge. And so what we're talking about is balance.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're really talking about what this show is all about when we talk about bridging the generational gap and understanding that each generation has a perspective.
Absolutely.
I think that you couldn't find a topic that's more consistent with that whole foundation. That when we're talking about the rearing of children, yes, we come with a sensibility. We've been there, we've done that, we've seen some things, we've gone through some things.
Yeah.
And there's something you want your child to not believe that life started with you. Absolutely. You want there to be listen, my grandparents, when I think about my grandparents, today's my grandfather's birthday.
Oh, happy birthday.
Happy heavenly birthday. And my grandfather probably made more impact on me than anybody on this planet. My parents included. Because he told the stories in 1908, and he was the first black man in Keelan, Virginia to get a car. And he told that story 1,000 times.
He was proud of it.
Yes. But it created in me a sense of not just history, but a sense of the journey. Something that I felt very extremely proud of, right? Yeah. That people had climbed over glass to get here.
Yeah.
We stand on the shoulders of our ancestors. Yeah. And when we start to lose that, we start to lose the point. That we didn't, back in the old days, this is real country, but this is what the country folks would say. You wasn't hatched by the buzzard and raised by the sun. I don't even know what it means, but that's what they would say. Wait. In other words, I just don't even try because I don't know.
Yeah.
I was trying that again.
Hatched by the buzzard and raised by the sun. In other words, you didn't just pop up. You didn't come like Kendrick Lamar, and sometimes you just got to pop out.
By the sun.
You came from somewhere.
I came from a buzzard.
Ooh. That's why we trying to make it make sense. Won't go. That's why she told us not to do it. That's why I stopped.
I ain't from no buzzard. Y'all can keep that.
After she said hatch from the buzzard and then raised from the sun.
Yeah. Because you just
that's an ugly little thing, man. I'm sorry.
Let her get her point.
Oh,
and I'm gonna be honest with you. After I said it out loud, it really is a really kind of sick analogy. But we grew up saying that, girl, you wasn't hatched by the buzzard and raised by the sun. And what we really meant was, you didn't just pop up from nowhere. You just hatched here. You came from somewhere. Okay, in other words, any success, any qualities, any blessings that you have didn't just originate with you.
Yeah.
Like somebody stood the watch for you.
Yeah.
Somebody went through the process.
Absolutely.
Somebody went through the pain in the process, whether it's labor or whatever. So, what we're talking about is balance. Vanessa, thank you so much for this topic.
Yes.
Shout out, because
good.
Here's what I want you to know. If you find yourself in either the grandparent role, the parent role, or the future parent role, or you're just standing on the peripheral, like you're the auntie, and it could be aunties too. Doesn't have to be grandparents. If you find yourself there, just understand that at the end of the day, it's about balance. And it's about coming together in the best interest of the child.
That is true.
Nobody needs to be the expert. Because in all honesty, they're all unique little human beings. And none of us are truly an expert on another person. Right. We pray to get it right. We do the best that we can do until we know better to do. And if people would listen to us, things would be better. But anyway, y'all, listen.
You had to throw that in there.
You gotta listen to the old heads though every now and then. They're not always right like they think they are.
And
but they be getting some stuff right now.
They do.
Come on.
It be about 20%.
Shout out my old heads, man.
And old heads.
31 and up. Shout out my old heads.
Ooh, 31. Ooh, y'all.
Yeah, that includes some UIs.
Dang. I'm almost getting there.
You're not there yet. You don't gotta take the shot yet.
I'm closer than you think. That's why I'm over here like, hey, how's that? When I get there, I don't want to be categorized as old.
Give it a couple years, then you can take offense to it.
I'm
going to take it now.
So the old head is going to close the episode by saying, let's keep the conversation brewing. Y'all, we got to ask questions. We got to listen to understand, and then acknowledge the unique challenges that each generation faces. And then we got to look for that common ground, because believe me, it's there. So until next time, let's keep sipping and let's keep talking. Jump into our Facebook group, subscribe to our YouTube channel, because we are going to keep the conversation going even after the show. So tune in next week for another thought-provoking and entertaining conversation that bridges the generational gap, one cup at a time. Take care.
Coffee getting cold, man. Coffee getting
You've been there, right?
Just like me trying to click the thing is up in there. Hey, yeah.
Oh, that's
this is
that's
brutal.
gonna be an episode.
It is.
That's in the episode, yeah.
Love it.
Did we